Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and today we're going to be talking about The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. The Gilded Ones is our release of the month for February. This book came out quite recently, I think the 16th of February or something. No wait, that's way too late. This review is part of the series of reviews where I review one new release a month, and you can check out the playlist, you can check out the new releases videos playlist as well, and let's get into it. So in The Gilded Ones we follow Decca, and she lives in this very patriarchal, very strict village where women have to prove that they're pure by bleeding on their 16th birthday. So it will be cut, and if your blood runs red, that means you're fine, you're pure. But if your blood runs gold, it means you are impure, and basically there's this thing called a death mandate where people with gold blood have to be killed. The year she's 16, Decca bleeds gold. She gets apprehended by the people in her village. She has to undergo some pretty tough things in the cellar, because basically Decca is what is known as a Laki, and a Laki can bleed gold and they cannot die, or they can die, but it's really hard to find their final death, and they cannot find it for Decca. Therefore she has to suffer like a lot of quite violent things done to her. And one day there's this emissary from the emperor who comes and collects Decca and says that she can join elite warriors, and these warriors are all Laki, and all of them are women who bleed gold. So I thought this book was really good, and I really enjoyed my time. The way my reviews usually work is I will go through plot, characters, themes, writing, and favorite quotes, and you can find all the timestamps down below. So weirdly enough, the plot a little bit reminded me of The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, and I think if you like that story you might like this one. It's nothing like it except for maybe the structure a little bit, because we start with a girl from a small village going to military school and learning more about her abilities and having to fight in a war. I don't know how accurate this comparison is, I'm just thinking that's the vibe I got. So if you like the vibe of Poppy War, you might like the vibe of this. Although overall I find this book to have so many unique elements, especially the inability to die of many of the main characters, because it takes them so much to die. It was such an interesting aspect that it just threw a wrench into this whole thing and kind of reimagined it a little bit. I found that super interesting actually, and I feel like it added a lot to the story. I feel like we could have done maybe a little bit more with world building, because the book itself had this really strange structure that I will talk about in a second, but it's just this very weird vibe that I feel like didn't lend itself too much to the world building. Now that I'm saying it, I feel like it's maybe a bit unfair, because the book itself had a really interesting world. I really understood the patriarchal society. The author herself, she was born in Sierra Leone, and she said that she experienced this very like patriarchal society there, and she kind of wanted to bring this to the book, and I think that was done very well. I mean, women have to wear masks since they're like 16 years old, always cover up all of their body, all of their face. So I really enjoyed that. I think that was very well explored, and it was all about female empowerment really. So I found that really engaging and really compelling. So I think the plot was really solid, different than what I expected in some aspects, just like I expected in other aspects, but nevertheless really interesting. As for the writing, I must say it felt really a bit young. I think in the beginning of the story particularly, there was just something really maybe underdeveloped a little bit in the beginning. I was having a little bit of a hard time getting into it, just because it felt like an early 2010s dystopian novel for some reason, and the writing was the same vibe of kind of simple, but that's not necessarily a criticism. It's just that it felt young, which is not a bad thing. It might have just been falling into that younger category of YA. That would be fine because it has no explicit sexual content, nothing like that, but it does have very graphic descriptions of violence and things that happens to these girls. So I feel like the writing and the actual subject matter maybe were at odds a little bit there, because I feel like I would have been a little bit traumatized if I read this too young. I feel like this problem was ironed out as we went, and the latter part of the story didn't feel so young, and the writing felt a bit more mature as well, but the beginning definitely felt a little bit immature. Maybe that was because that's when our character was still young and naive, so I don't know. So maybe it was a deliberate choice, but it just made getting into the story a little bit harder. Let's talk about characters then. Okay, Decca is the main character, and we really see the story through her perspective. It's the first person, present tense, and we're really in the story with her. And I think it was really strange because I feel like the story, it was like Decca was this one constant and the other things just kind of happened around it, but with very little development in a sense, but I just made it the time passing feel a bit more real. And overall, I really enjoyed Decca. I think she was a really good main character. I really at first really loved Britta, who's the best friend character, but I feel like she could have been way more developed because she's kind of introduced as a friend to Decca, and that's all she stays through the whole story, and we are led to believe that they're like really close friends. And I feel like that could have been developed a bit more, or the relationship itself maybe was fine. I believe that they're best friends, but Britta wasn't like a very fleshed out character at all. She was very much a sketch of a person for Decca to just like become friends with. So I feel like that might have been a bit of a wasted potential because you don't want your other characters to just be blank slates that fill a role in the main character's life. And I think that's true for a lot of the characters. For the love interest, he was also really just kind of like a blank slate for her to fall in love with, but I got a feel for him, but not that much development. Way more than Britta though, I think. Like, I know what she's about, right? She's sweet, she's nice, he's like nice and honorable, whatever, you know, these like adjectives they can throw at them, but I feel like they don't feel like real people. They feel like props to Decca's story. Overall, female friendship was like a huge plot of the book, and I really enjoyed seeing that. I was watching Cuckoo for Books review of this, and she said that she really liked that the girls were actually trained in proper combat, because normally female like assassins, warriors, they're just like either thrown in the ring with men or they are taught like seduction techniques. And in this book, no, we are thrown into the ring, we are training as warriors, but they're all women. And I felt that was a really cool part of the story because you really get to see them develop friendship, develop very tight bonds with each other, and I really enjoyed like having female commanders and all of that, especially since that's so unique in this world because women are really subjugated. So there's in general very little women warriors, and I really enjoyed how we are shown the hypocrisy of the people. When the women first ride out to battle, they're called whores, bitches, sluts, really bad things, and no respect is shown. But once they prove their effectiveness, the song changes and it's all like, yeah, our warriors, you're amazing. But then 5 seconds later it can just be like, yeah, you're a demon. So it's just so flippant, and it really shows you how people are just willing to go with whatever's best for them. So I think that was super well done. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And like I mentioned, there's a little bit of a romance in here, but I think if you don't like romance, this is a perfect book for you because it's really an afterthought. This is not a romance fantasy, this is a fantasy. It's still a solid relationship. I think it's still a solid relationship, but it's not very like detailed, and we don't spend like lots of time with them like getting to know each other. We're just kind of told by the main character that they did and that they really like each other, and I like that they were just like holding hands and being each other's first kisses instead of like, you know, going all the way, because that kind of maybe plays into the book feeling a bit younger. Another thing that Cuckoo for Books said was that the characters actually felt their age, and I have to agree with that. Maybe that's why the book felt so young in the beginning, because like 90% of the characters are 16 years old. You really feel that. And themes, I feel like we touched upon all the main themes already. I mean, the major one is patriarchal society and misogyny. The whole world is really like really patriarchal, so I really like that. I like this dismembering of it, even in the character's head, because when we first meet Decca, she's very like religious and she's very devoted, so it's really interesting to learn more about her journey trying to assert herself and really dismantle the internal misogyny. And it was really well explored. Female friendship really well explored. The topic of female friendship was really well explored. I think that was really beautiful. Overall, just power and readiness and all that good stuff that fantasies discuss. When it comes to content warnings, obviously like torture and like bodily harm, I think would be a big one. And normally I share my favorite quote, but I did tap the book, and also like how pretty is my edition. ages. And it's not like a special edition or anything. Okay, I guess this can be my favorite quote. I extend my hand, my heart lodged in my throat. Blood sisters? I ask. 1,000 thoughts sparking my mind. What if I'm asking for too much? What if they turn away, scorn me the way everyone in the village did? What if they... A soft hand settles over me. Blood sisters. I really like that. That shows you really, like, that really shows you the level of female friendship there. So I think if that's something you enjoy, you'd enjoy this one. So overall, The Gilded Ones, I gave it 4 stars. I think it was a very, very solid first entry into the series, and I'm really fascinated where the series will go. What happened here? I feel like normally that happens in the 3rd book, so I'm confused where we're going, but I'm fascinated. I'm definitely gonna get the 2nd book and read it. I think it's a very solid entry into the fantasy genre. Again, feels a bit young. If you don't mind that, definitely worth a read. But that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought about the book if you read it. Let me know if my review made you want to read it. I'm really interested. But that's it for me, and I'll see you in my next video. Oh, and please like, comment, subscribe. Okay, bye!